listening to The Sizzle on Iron Skillet Radio and Iron Skillet Television.
You know who it is. You know what it is. It's The Sizzle in the building. Hotter than ever. You know who's in the building. He's Jake Sizzle. He's Rich Sizzle. I'm G Sizzle. We're in the building. And right now, gentlemen, we've got to talk about one thing. And that's only one thing that it can be. We've got to talk about basketball in the NBA Finals.
Oh, my God.
All right. So we got to talk. We got to talk about probably the best. I don't know if it's the best finals of all time. That's what I heard somebody say. But somebody said that this is going to be the greatest final of all time. And there's only one thing I've got to say before we get started, and that's
everyone has to do their job.
It's possible.
Do your job.
All right. So
yeah, your boy Kevin Garnett said anything possible, but everything not possible.
Well, I don't know. I don't know. It was almost possible that Jimmy Butler went back to the finals, but Jimmy Butler did not. He tried his best. And kudos to Jimmy Butler, man, for going out there and giving it all he had. He gave 156% because 4 more percent he probably would have won. I'm just saying, I'm telling you, with 4 more points, they would have won, and we would have had a finals with the Golden State Warriors and the Miami Heat, where the Heat probably would have been swept. But moving forward, now we've got the Boston Celtics and the Golden State Warriors. So, Jay, as the elder statesman here and the one in the beautiful polo, let's start with you.
Why do you say that every time you're coming to me?
Oh, okay.
Every time you come to me, I have to be, I'm the elder statesman, like I'm going, what?
Well, you
even though
want to be the younger statesman?
Even though I do. No, but I do have a bottle of Geritol on my desk, but look, hey, this finals could be epic. But Jayson Tatum and them got to bring it. They got to bring it right from the beginning. They can't have these little lulls like they've been having. Can't have these 12-point halves. They got to bring it, because now you're dealing with a Warriors team that's got a confident Klay Thompson. And that's what the West was hoping wasn't going to happen too quickly, was that Klay all of a sudden was going to get his he needs to take that. First thing he needs to do is take that headband off. I don't know why Klay has that headband on. I think they're throwing his shot off. I think he's making his head lean over to the left too far. Something's wrong, because he just don't look right with that headband. But I digress though. He's coming back and he's shooting better and he's playing better defense. So, and then you got Wiggins, who is coming into his own. Right. And all of a sudden with Poole, the Warriors have a big three. I mean, Poole and Wiggins make a whole nother big one. So they have, and then you got Draymond Green, who got snubbed for being first team all NBA defense, which he is going to be a mad warrior. So he might foul out in the first quarter. So, but this is gonna be this. Hey, this could be a good one. I'll hit the Celtics on the other side.
Well, I tell you what, Rich, with all the wonderful puns that Jake Sizzle just gave us, he gave us a really big one, and the Mad Warrior. So let's go with that. I say, Rich Sizzle, that you've got to have a team that's built off of a strong point guard and a dynamic power forward. I believe in this NBA, if you have those two elements, you can win. So the Celtics have a dynamic point forward, but the Warriors have a tremendous point forward, power forward, and point guard. So I don't see how this comes out well for the Celtics. Convince me if I'm wrong, Rich Sizzle, that this can come out any other way in the Celtics' favors other than the Warriors getting a drubbing on them.
No. Sorry.
Okay.
The shooting star, I don't think it's gonna happen. No, they're coming in healthy. Both teams are. That was the one thing that I felt like was in the Celtics' advantage all the way through the playoffs. They played teams at a time where they were all hurt. They got past The Bucks without Middleton, which probably would not have happened. The Heat were not fully healthy, dinged up, banged up here and there. Even when you talk about the Bulls, even though they look good, I mean, they have peaked at a good time, but the Bulls were not healthy. So they played a barrage of teams that were injured, and they struggled with those teams. The Warriors look good. They look healthy. Like Jay says, you have that final piece that just takes them over the top of Klay Thompson, and he's playing good. He's averaging 20 points this point season. So when you've got 3 to 4 people on the floor at any time that can hit a three at any moment's notice, I think that the Celtics come in with a lot of energy, with a lot of defensive prowess, but I don't think it's enough. I don't think that they can complement or match the Warriors as far as offensively, because that's what you're going to have to do eventually. I understand defense will slow the game down, but once those guys get going, it's nothing for them to drop a good quick 15 points in less than 5 minutes or so. Miami struggled in game 7. Once they got ahead, they struggled to come back, and then they lagged down. They came back. They settled down. That's not going to happen with the Warriors. Once they catch fire and they get to going, it's a wrap. And you don't have to worry about that 1 or 2 players that might or might not hit. They're all going to hit that shot. So I don't see how this ends well with the Celtics against the Warriors unless something catastrophic happens on the Warriors, God forbid. Because that would just do that infamous what if, and we would hate for that to happen. So.
Well, that is a good point. But to your point, Rich, the Celtics have had a good schedule. But Jay, have not the Warriors had a good run too? They've run into some teams. They didn't have to face the best team in the West this year, which would have been the Suns. They've also run into some other teams that had some injury issues when you lost Ja Morant. So could the Warriors have been the beneficiaries of getting in a smooth pathway right to the finals through all the teams that they've played in the Western Conference?
You got to play your schedule. You know what I'm saying? I mean, who shows up on the other side? I mean, you can say the same thing for the Warriors. When Klay Thompson wasn't going 100%, when Draymond Green was out, when Steph Curry was hobbled up earlier in the year. You got to play who's playing on the other side of the bench. So on that one, yeah, everybody's hurt when you get into the playoffs. I don't care who it is. If you play any significant minutes, that's what's going to happen. But what I'm looking at with the Celtics, you need Marcus Smart and Jaylen Brown to play the most cutthroat, beat-up defense you've ever seen, and hopefully they don't fall out, because they're going to have to put a tremendous amount of pressure on Klay, on Steph, to try to keep them from catching the ball out on the arc. But here's the problem. If they step out there to defend the arc, the Warriors are probably the best team in basketball to cut backdoor. And these guys move without the basketball, and I don't think Marcus Smart has the engine to keep running with Steph Curry all night long. I think Steph's just going to put him on a marathon, and they're just going to run around and go to the water stations, and they're going to pass the baton. And by the fourth quarter's out, Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart are not going to be closing out on these guys as hard as they were in the first quarter, and you're going to see some wide open threes from the Warriors. You're going to see them get down in the elbow because their midi game is nasty. The Warriors' midi game is nasty. They get around 14, 13, right inside there. They got that one little hand push shot, and they will kill you. And one of the things that people do not realize is Steph Curry is probably one of the best finishers around the basket that we've seen in a while. He's got it all. He can handle, he can dribble, and he can shoot. And we didn't know that he can get this layup package to get it going too. So I just think Jayson Tatum has to put on his Superman cape. And if he's going to win this championship, they're going to need high 30s out of him every game. I mean, he's going to have to go for big numbers every night. I don't know if he can do it every night. He's a 1 night, 2 night type of guy, but I don't know if he can go all night long. So we'll see.
I don't know, Rich. When you look at it, the Celtics beat up on the Nets. And I mean, they did a good job with it. And we say hobbled, but you had a full strength Kyrie and you had a full strength KD, which KD has made a lot of little commentary about Draymond Green in the past few days, few weeks. It's been some little words said, but is there any?
What do you say?
He said a lot of stuff. He said that, he said some things about Draymond. That Draymond was like, I didn't say that. And he said some more stuff, and he was like, I didn't say that. So I think that now you got your boy KD feeling some kind of way.
Well, here's the problem with that. Right? Where did KD have to go to win championships? And when KD couldn't get it done, and then KD went to go by himself to go somewhere else, what happened?
Ooh.
Implosion, right? So KD don't look like the guy who could do it by himself. And he had two of the best scorers ever in the NBA, ever. Harden, and who was the other guy? The COVID kid? You know what I'm saying?
I don't know about saying ever. I think.
Hold on. Wait a minute. Hold on now. Hold on.
Come on. Okay.
Give me 5-6 better scores in the NBA's history than James Harden.
Are you serious?
Yeah, give me 5 or 6 best scores than James Harden. Give them to me. Who's a better scorer, pure scorer than, not basketball player, pure scorer than James Harden?
I can just go off the 80s if you want. We got time.
Larry Bird.
Go ahead.
Larry Bird, Karl Malone.
Okay.
Of course, Jordan.
Okay.
Of course,
James
Kobe.
Okay.
Allen Iverson.
Okay.
I think Dwayne Wade's a better scorer.
Okay. And then
to be honest.
don't stop it. But you have
Dominique Wilkins
not mentioned anybody in
what
you have not mentioned anybody out of this class.
Go, where do you want me to go? You said of all time.
And they're of all time.
Yeah.
All right, now you just mentioned all-time greats. You didn't mention nobody playing right now. You didn't mention nobody playing right now.
You didn't tell
That's what I'm saying.
What is it?
Well, I'm just saying he's an all-time great scorer. What I'm saying is that KD had enough help, but the problem is that he couldn't pull his team together. Right. So I think a lot of that has to do with leadership. That has a lot to do with leadership. Kyrie brought him over there, but Kyrie was never supposed to be the leader of the team. KD was supposed to be the leader of the team.
Now,
and he couldn't.
However, I mean, Harden wasn't playing for the Nets this year when playoff time came around.
Oh,
so
okay.
Really throw that. I can't throw that.
Well, whose fault is that though? I mean, most of it's James Harden, but that was KD's team. That was KD's team. He should have held that team together, and he didn't.
I don't know where this argument went. I just wanted to know what Kevin Durant said.
Hey, this is what I do. This is what I do, friend. I'm just saying.
You threw a monkey wrench, and it went
what I do every time,
like a boomerang. And I'm like, I just wanted to know what Durant said. That was it.
Right. Well,
okay. Well, Durant has intimated that there's one thing missing out of Steph Curry's resume. There's one thing missing out of his treasure chest, and that is Finals MVP, which he has not been. Right. And
he might get it this year.
Which that was Durant who got, and then Iguodala who was sitting way down on the bench, which was kind of, if you really want to talk about it, the year that Steph they lost or whatever, or in the 1 year that
LeBron
the MVP. I mean that Durant were the MVP. Steph Curry didn't show up in those finals.
That's true.
Now, granted, I mean we're talking about. I think Kyrie Irving was guarding him, or he was guarding him. Vice versa, and they have a good opportunity of even each other out. I don't see Jaylen Brown doing that, or Marcus Smart for that matter, or whoever else they got in their bench, Pritchard or Terrence White. None of them. I can't see that happening in this playoffs. But I'm just pointing that out there. It's like, where did Steph Curry go in the finals? I hope to really, like you said, SIZZLE, to really cement Curry's legacy, he has to show up in this finals He has no excuse not to, and he has to go home with that Finals MVP.
Well, one of the things that Durant, it was said, I believe in, it was Draymond Green's podcast, and he was talking about why Steph Curry had not been MVP in the finals. And he was saying that Steph Curry has been double teamed more than any other player that, in any of the series, he's been double teamed more. And Kevin Durant said, no, that's not true. That's not true. I was double teamed more than Steph Curry. So, going back to 15 when Iguodala won, then 17 and 18, it was Kevin Durant. So Kevin Durant's whole thing is, he should have it. And then, Draymond was like, no, Playboy, you should have listened to the whole thing. You got clickbaited in. And so to make this all sweet and to make it all nice. So Curry's numbers are down this season from his years from 15 all the way up to 18. His numbers have been down across the board. Right now, there are more offensive options that the Warriors have. And so the question is now at this point, can Steph Curry pull off enough of a show against a defensive-minded team with a Marcus Smart who is going to – he may not stay step for step with him, but he's going to dog him. They're going to beat him around. He's going to run into Al Horford. It's going to be a lot of problems. He's going to get knocked around a couple of times. So can Steph Curry get it together well enough to be named MVP of this series?
Yes, absolutely. The one thing the Warriors do good is move that ball. They swing that ball around and they will get to Steph. Steph is the point guard. He's going to dictate that offense. He's going to control that offense. There's nothing that's going to go on through that offense if it doesn't go through him, i.e. be in the pass or be in the shot. It still goes around him. So unless somebody goes out there and it's just completely phenomenal, like you said, okay, you can try to double team him now. This year, that statement year, because who are you going to double team? I'm watching Wiggins knock down threes.
Yeah.
Goodness sake, I'm like, Wiggins is knocking them down. We've seen Poole knock them down. We've seen Klay knock them down. You can't double them all. And Al Horford, being that elder statesman, I'm watching him. He's played 35 minutes in this postseason per game. Do you think how much more do you think he has in the tank after they just went through game 7, I think? Mm-hmm. A tough game, a tough 7 series on that behind another one. Yeah. And you expect him to try to keep up and run with that kind of team? There are going to be some transitions going to be made, because if you're going to try to play them big for big and they start shooting lights out, where are you going to go from there? You're gonna keep Horford in there and hope he can slow it down after you go down about 15, 16 points by half? You're going to have to switch things up.
Well, it's funny.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, Rich.
That in their series, when they were playing them, they had to double and blitz down on Steph Curry because he was that dangerous, even with having Klay Thompson and with Kevin Durant on the floor. But you have neither of the two there now. But do not fret my fears. When I say his stats are down, he's down from, I think, of an average of 26.4 points now to something like 24 points. It's still ridiculously silly, and he's still 90% from the line. So,
but look who stepped up, though.
Yeah, a lot of stepping up, a lot of stepping up, a lot of it from a lot of different places.
Yeah, did anybody see this kind of productivity from Wiggins or Poole like that? I mean,
yeah. I mean, you talk about a guy. Wiggins a number 1 pick, right?
Yeah, some years back.
When Wiggins is the number 1 pick.
Yeah.
So now all of a sudden, now you almost had a lottery. You picked up a lottery pick literally this year. Who came into his own. He's been there for a few years, but he came into his own finally. And all of a sudden now they're even more dangerous. Yeah. And then you look at the development of Poole, right? That he was developed into what he is. Now he is the best free throw shooter in the NBA, and he's on the team with the second best free throw shooter in the NBA. And all of a sudden now he can shoot the long ball like he is Stephen Curry Jr. Hey, his jump shot even looks like Steph Curry's now. Have you noticed that? It's switched up a little bit. It's nice and smooth. And he's the same cadence. So kudos to the Warriors for developing this, just developing these players and guys willing to work. I don't think Steph has to be MVP, and I don't really think it's going to do anything to his legacy. He is the greatest shooter that we've ever seen in the NBA. Nothing's going to stop that. He's going to outpace everybody making threes by a long way. It's going to be ridiculously hard to catch him. So I think on this MVP thing, I think you're going to see somebody. I think it's going to be like an Iguodala type player that's going to win MVP. Nope. I know it could be a Wiggins, or it could be somebody like that, because they're going to try to take Steph away. They're going to try to take Steph away. They're going to try to take Klay Thompson. One of those other guys, Al Horford, like you said, Rich, that was my whole thing. This is the best running team in the league. These guys are going to, when they come out, the ball goes in the basket, they're taking off and running down court. Can these Celtics keep up with these Warriors for 48 minutes? I just don't think they're going to be able to.
Well, let me help you out why I say he has to win in order to put his name up there as far as one of the greatest point guards of all time. You have players like Isaiah Thomas, who has a ring and a Finals MVP. Magic has rings, a couple Finals MVPs. Steph Curry has rings, no Finals MVPs. You want to be up there and have the legitimate say that I'm the best point guard of all times. You have to have a Finals MVP, especially the people behind you who can say that, well, I do, and I led my team like I should and had MVPs behind me. They still hold that over him despite the shooting abilities that he has. It's not all about what you do on stats. It's about your legacy. It's about what you hold up at the end of the year. Do you have that trophy in your hand? You got 2 trophies in your hand. Right now, he's only had 1. He got to have both of them in his hand.
This is a modern day dynasty that he's leading.
Yeah.
They've been to the final 6 of the last 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
One thing he holds over everybody, he is the greatest shooter of all time.
Okay.
Put anybody out there. He is the greatest shooter, right? He has changed the game. He has Lawrence Taylored the NBA, literally. Because now you have all these kids out here now following Steph Curry, the Trae Youngs of the league. All these guys now are taking 35-footers that would have never taken that type of shot until Steph Curry made it okay. Coaches would have benched these players if they're jacking up 32-footers. He's changed the game, and that's the one thing I think that puts him at the top of point guards, because as great as Isaiah was, as great as Kyrie Irving is, as great as Magic is, and Magic did change the game, bringing that big size coming down at you at 6'8" at the point guard position and handling the rock. But those other players that you mentioned before that, they were great, but they didn't change the game of basketball. And I think that's why you have to put Curry at the top of the list. He's probably one of the best point guards that's ever played the game.
But he don't have that Finals MVP. Tony Parker has a Finals MVP.
So is he better than Steph Curry?
He was part of a dynasty. That's all I'm saying.
Is he better than Steph Curry, though? I mean, no.
We don't know how great Steph is without an MVP. We can't say that.
To cement that resume and legitimately say, I am the best point guard to have ever played basketball, he needs that. I think that at the end of his career, if he gets an MVP, a Finals MVP, he can legitimately say, and there won't be too much arguing about it. If he says, I'm the best point guard to ever play, and I got this, and my Finals MVP, yeah. What can you argue against that when he can say that?
Well, we can say this.
Yeah, but I understand what you're saying, Rich. But I could argue right now that he's top 5, 6, 7 handles all time. He's the greatest shooter of all time at the point guard position. You know what I'm saying? So he checks a lot of check marks. You know what I'm saying? So I don't really see another point guard without the trophy.
All I'm saying is check them all. That's all I'm trying to say.
Okay.
Every box. Don't leave no box unchecked. That's all I'm trying to say. That's my guy, man. I just want every box checked. And then I'm like, cool, you that dude. You are
that's right.
man. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a lot to look at. If you look at, you've got Wiggins, you've got Kuminga, you've got Anderson, and you've got now Kevon Looney coming in. If unguarded, you can see what he's done in series by himself. This is the
thought about
point
that.
when
Yeah,
you
they
start
unleashed
talking about the Celtics.
now against the smaller Dallas team, and Looney
Yeah.
went berserk on them.
Yeah.
You know,
And Williams Williams for the Celtics, that knee is banged up.
Yes.
And you know, and they hide what's going on that team, and he's gonna have to, because Looney will get loose on you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then none of us have mentioned the X factor, Draymond Green. Nobody has mentioned that part. In this whole conversation, we mentioned him earlier about the rigmarole, but not him actually playing on the basketball court. And we know Draymond is one. Huh?
We don't know how long he's gonna play. I mean, he might get ejected after the 3rd minute of the game. Who knows? You know, he just sit there and jaw jack. Oh my God, you can see him jaw jacking Marcus Smart, and they both get thrown out of the game.
You know what? Draymond says more stuff to these referees. Do they put earplugs in? Because he's
he kind of has that thing where it's like, all right, they already gave me one check. They ain't gonna throw me out. Let me just go.
Right.
On now.
Your mama breath stink. You know, her feet smell like spam. I mean, he's just going in, and it's like, wow, somebody get this guy.
So let's ask this question. With all that said, now with the Celtics, there is another problem for the Warriors. And that is, if the Celtics, their big two, can come in and do their job. If you got Brown and you got Tatum doing their job,
they're going to have to do it.
If they do their job, then it becomes a problem, because now that means somebody on the Warriors is not doing their job. And so now they're going to apply pressure. So for the next few minutes, let's look at some of the ways that the Celtics can win this game by just staying relevant and them doing their job. Rich, if you had to pull it out, and if you had to tell me the way to victory for the Celtics, what would those numbers look like? What would it be for a team like the Celtics to beat the Warriors?
I can't. I've been trying to figure it out. It would have to go something like the Warriors just had the worst shooting time of their lives, and we kind of saw that one game with Dallas. I'm sorry, not with Dallas, with Memphis. And that's when everybody else just started stepping up out of nowhere. And they actually won 2 games without shooting any threes. They just grinded it out from the post on the inside and just kept on going. You can have, so let's just look at it like this. You had Wiggins guarding Morant, and I thought that Wiggins did a pretty good job guarding him. Can we compare Morant with Tatum? Sure. But offensively, I'm picking Morant over Tatum. If I want to talk about offensive ability, I think he's faster. So Wiggins did a good job against Morant. I don't see him slowing down. Now, the problem is Tatum's got a better jump shot, I think. He can kind of just pull up from wherever.
Yeah, he's sugar.
Yeah. Now, Jaylen Brown, now we're talking about Klay Thompson, and Klay's in his own form, another top-tier defensive player. So who you think Marcus Smart might be able to slow down Curry a bit, but one thing Marcus Smart cannot do is cancel him out offensively. And that's where your problem is going to be, is, okay, this guy might, so instead of Steph Curry throwing in up 30 points a game, he might only throw 24. But is Marcus Smart going to throw up 24 points? No.
Yeah.
Good question. Jay, the Celtics have been not great at home like the Warriors. The Warriors are undefeated, but the Celtics have been the best road team in the playoffs and have the best win percentage this year on the road after the turn of the calendar. For the year 22, they are one of the best teams in the league, and they're good on the road. So do they have a chance to go in and take some games when they go to meet the Warriors at home?
The Celtics have the only team that has a winning record since over the Warriors since Steve Kerr took over in 2014. That tells me they have championship toughness DNA. All right. This team is tough. They're going to play tough. But what they're going to have to do is play outside of what they normally do to win ball games. That means they're literally going to have to go out and outscore the Warriors. That's what they're going to have to do. They're going to have to go deep in their bench early and play tough defense against the Warriors. They're going to have to pick Steph up early, whoever's bringing that ball down, and shrink that shot clock. If you let the Warriors get down there and they got 18, 19 seconds on the clock to run their offense, the Celtics don't have a chance. You have to have the Warriors operating on a short shot clock. That's the only thing you can do that. So they're going to have to play super difficult defense on them and then come out. Marcus Smart. Here's the problem. Here's the problem with the Celtics. Jaylen Brown has to have his best series right now, right? You got to have Tatum has to have his best series, and they need one more. They need a 24, 25-pointer out of Al Horford. They need Smart to go for 30. They need something like that. But can they pull that off? I don't know. The only way the Celtics win this series is that they're playing at their best, and the Warriors are not playing at their best. That's where the Celtics have opportunity to win this. But if the Warriors are clicking and you want to run up and down the court and play fast basketball with the Warriors and play shot for shot, you're going to lose because on their team, they got the two best backcourt long ball shooters that we've ever seen in the league. And if you foul them, you go to the line. They have three guys who shoot in the 90s, literally from the free throw line. Who you gonna foul in that backcourt? And I think you're going to see that. What was that Star Wars or Darth Vader lineup where you have Poole, Curry, and Klay Thompson in at one time? Who you gonna guard? What? Who? Because somebody gonna give it to you. X gonna give it to you. That's what's gonna happen. Somebody gonna give it to you.
All right, gentlemen. So let's wrap it up with our predictions. Let's say this. You got the Boston Celtics on one side. You've got the Golden State Warriors on the other side. I do not see a sweep on either side, but it's a possibility. Anything is possible. So, Rich, you lead off with your predictions of where this series is going and who's going to end up hosting the Larry O'Brien Trophy.
We've left one name out on the Warriors that we didn't talk about who deserves credit if he plays. That's Gary Payton.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, yeah. If he comes back, it's a real wrap.
If he plays, because he's trending to I think day-to-day status now. If he plays and plays at the level that he was playing first when the playoffs first started, I got the Warriors sweeping. If not, I give him 5.
Okay. All right. So Warriors in 5 from Rich Sizzle. Jay, what say you?
I was trying to figure out a way to get this game to go to 6 games. I was trying to figure out how that was going to happen. But I'm going to say the Celtics is going to figure out a way to win 1. But I'm with Rich on this. I think it's going to be Warriors in 5. I think it will be hard-fought games, but I think at the end, it's going to be Warriors are going to be winning by 7, 8, 9 points at the end because they're the best in-game management team out there. If they're up by 7 or 8 points with 2 minutes left, you pretty much put that game in the bag. They're going to figure out how to win that because now you got to foul them, put them to the line, and they're not missing from the line at the end of the ball game. So it's going to be over with. Got them in Warriors in 5. I just hope the series is good.
Okay. Well, there we go. There you go. I like it. I'll go along with it. I still say if you can get the Mavericks to get 2 games off of them, you can get the Grizzlies to get some games off them. I believe the Celtics can give you 2 games. So I would say Warriors in 6 with, a whole helping of a lot of defense, a lot of Celtic pride, a lot of green, and like a lot of green, like shamrocks. I never did understand why it was so much green, but anywho, that was just it. I'll take it in that. All right, I'll say that. Yep, there you go. the Warriors in 6 with the Celtics slapping them upon the head voraciously.
Wow.
And
wow.
yeah, it's going to be ugly. It's going to be mean. And it's going to be nasty. Yeah.
We'll see.
We'll see. Yeah, that's all I can say. Well, you know what? Then that wraps it up, fellas. You know who it is, and you know what it is. It's the Sizzle here in the building. You know who's in the building. He's Jay Sizzle. He's Rich Sizzle. I'm G Sizzle. And we will see you on the other side.
Thank you for listening to The Sizzle, the hottest sports talk in the 219, here on Iron Skillet Television and Iron Skillet Radio. Make sure that you follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Iron Skillet Sports. And remember to like, share, and subscribe to Iron Skillet Sports on YouTube at Iron Skillet Sports.